Hi there. In this video, I wanted to show you an issue I've been having with Autopilot for the past year and a half. This one intersection here causes the issue every time, so I'm using it as an example. And my car was one of the last ones to still have radar, so my car has radar up till about 2 weeks ago when they switched it over to vision only, like they did for all the cars. And I haven't seen any difference with that, so it does it with vision or radar. But coming up here, you'll see what happens. The car will swerve to the right here when this lane opens up. See, that's all autopilot. And it slams on the brakes there. Not hard, but you can tell it's slowing down. And it'll do this every time at that intersection. I'm going to turn around here and show you the other direction at that same intersection. And I believe it's caused by the lane opening up on the left and I guess it's a bike lane or some kind of gap. I'm going to call it a bike lane because it causes two white lines on the right. So if there's no opening on the left and you still have a yellow line on the left, everything's fine, and it doesn't do this, even if there is that bike lane. But the problem, I think, occurs when that bike lane appears and there's also a gap on the left caused by a left turn lane at the same time. It causes the car to dart to the right. And we're going to see it again here. This is the same intersection going east instead of west. And yeah, there's traffic in front of me here, but traffic or not, it does the same thing every time. So right there, it'll dart off to the right, and it doesn't quite get to the right side of the lane, but almost. And then it corrects itself. So I think it's kind of an oh God moment where play it here in slow motion. It sees that and it misinterprets that second white line to be the lane. And then it says, oh no, that's not it. And in the meantime, because of the uncertainty, it's hitting the brakes. So again, swerve to the right. Notice that there's an opening there on the left. So there's no lane marking on the left. And it's just simply, one more time, treating the second white line on the right as the lane, and it's trying to recenter based on that. And I'll show this here in the car coming up in this next clip. Same intersection. This was a time where it didn't do it quite as bad, but watch the blue line on the right, the top part of it. See how it jerks to the right there? And I'm showing that with my finger here, and I'm showing that the steering wheel jerks back and forth. And the reason is because, watch the top part of the blue line on the right. It'll jerk over to the right, and that's because it's momentarily considering that second white line on the right to be the right side of the lane, you know, the bike lane white line instead of the lane white line. And here's a situation. I've just frozen it here so I could talk a couple minutes here on the end of the video. So it only seems to appear in this condition right here. There are other intersections where there's no left turn lane here and the yellow line just continues on the left, and that's no problem, even with that bike lane on the right. It's only when we have this issue right here, this particular condition where you've got a gap on the left and the right side shows two white lines instead of one. And as you saw with that blue line, it's just popping over to the second white line on the right and then saying, oh no, that's not it, and then popping back to the first one. And it hits the brakes every time. It doesn't slam them, but you know, it's moderate braking. And I think it probably does that because it's unsure what's going on. And due to it being unsure, it will jerk back and forth like that. So the last thing I want to point out is I've seen other Teslas. It's a pretty heavy Tesla town here. We have a lot of Teslas. And I can be behind other Teslas and they will do the same thing. And I'll kind of chuckle and I'll say, they're using autopilot. So I know that they're using autopilot when I see them swerve like that. So, you know, probably dozens, hundreds of Teslas, you know, many times. My car's done it probably, you know, 100 times in the last year and a half that I've traveled this road, and other Teslas are doing it. So it doesn't appear to me that they are taking this data into account. Like some people have mentioned before that, you know, which I've done before, if you jerk the steering wheel to keep it in the lane, and you disengage autopilot, that information goes back to Tesla. I don't think it does, not on regular autopilot, because like I said, this has been going on a year and a half and they still haven't fixed it. It's something that needs to be addressed. And on that topic, I think with FSD, the full self-driving, they probably do consider the disengagements, and they're going to eventually put that into their dojo and, you know, do the neural net and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a bit disappointed with this neural net idea, because I don't think they're using it with Autopilot, because they seem to be ignoring problems like this that are repetitive, that happens almost every time. Every car that goes down this road that's a Tesla is having the same issue, and they're still not correcting it. So my proposal to Tesla, if they happen to watch this small content creator or it gets back to them, I think they ought to be taking what they've learned from FSD and rolling it into Autopilot. And what I mean by that is, obviously you're not going to put, you know, they got to make their fat stacks, so they got to make their money on FSD. I'm not saying make Autopilot into FSD. Just make the lane keep as good as FSD. So, you know, Autopilot is basically just a fancy lane keep, but make that one part of it as good as FSD. You know, roll what you've learned into FSD into the lane keep piece of Autopilot and make it safer. Hopefully this will, and going through other content creators, maybe they'll kind of echo the same thing. Improve Autopilot too. Don't forget us. We're not going to pay the 15 grand. So you might as well improve the safety of Autopilot as well, because you're going to have a lot of people that are using just that. All right. Thanks for watching.